Hello everyone, welcome back. We are at the end of the year now, so I thought I'd try to do a favorites video. I don't want to call it a top 10 or a top anything. We're just going to say my favorites of the year. So this video is going to be about my favorites 118 and 375 toy lines of 2023, and I'm going to throw in a couple of my other favorites as we go, just to spice it up, make it a little bit more fun. So chill out with me for a little bit. I'll talk to you about some of my favorite toy lines of 2023. All right, let's start the list off with my favorite army builder of 2023, and that is going to be the HK-87 Assassin Droid from Hasbro, Star Wars The Vintage Collection. This was in the Ahsoka wave. He's fairly new, he's fairly recent, just in the last 2 months or so. Let me tell you why he is my favorite army builder. There's lots of reasons why. Let's start out with sort of the economics of him. And what I mean by that is this guy is readily available. You can, theoretically, right now, walk into Walmart or Target if they have this new wave and you can pick him up. If you do find him at Target, he is only $12.99. At Walmart, I think they're $16.99. That's all vintage collection figures. You can order this guy off of Amazon. He's much easier to get. There are other great army builders. The Tau Empire guys come to mind. Some of the Acid Rain figures. But those are really, really expensive figures, guys. Those are in the 30s, 40s, 50s. You can only order them mostly online from, Pia Club or Locker Toys, Cool Toys, Gundam It. Very, very, pick your retailer. This guy you can find at brick and mortar, at least theoretically. Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, Target's website, Walmart's website. And if you're lucky, and I have seen this guy in the wild a couple times now, you can find this guy. And if you're lucky enough to find him at Target, he's only $12.99. He's got the modern vintage collection articulation, so he does have a rocker ankle. He does have ball jointed hips, but because he's a droid, they work a little bit different than if he was a human, a Jedi. He does have a thigh swivel. He's got a nice little ab crunch. One of the things that makes him my favorite as well, though, is he's very easily customizable. He comes with this staff, the soft goods cape, and he's got this blaster that attaches to his backpack. And if you've seen the show Ahsoka, you know that in many of the episodes, he was a little bit different. In some episodes, he was just like this. In other episodes, he only had the staff. In some episodes, he only had a blaster. Some episodes, he might have had the staff or the blaster, but he didn't have the soft goods. You can change this guy up any way you want to build a little army of these guys, and they can all look a little bit different. Plus, because the sculpt is so good, with just an acrylic pen, a silver pen or a bronze pen or gold pen, you can easily highlight different pieces of his armor, his face, his helmet, to also make him stand out and make little differences here and there to make different characters from the same droid. The soft goods is nice. It's awesome that he can hold his blaster here on the back if you're going to use the blaster at all. Very good figure. And at that price point, and the fact that you could and should be able to find him at Target and Walmart right now, here at the end of 2023, makes him my favorite army builder of the year. There's something about being able to go into the store and find the figure that you're looking for, and maybe find multiples of them, because I do believe this guy was 2 to a case. He might even been more. But you can walk out of there with 2 of these guys, and you've got, a security force now. I do have 5 or 6 of these guys. I gave one to my son. I think this one's mine or his. I'm not quite sure. I think this one might be mine. But these are great guys. These are great droids. Very cool design, very cool articulation, sculpt, accessories, and the almighty dollar, the price. Even at $16.99, which is, on the expensive side. We're getting, vintage collection Star Wars is getting up there in a little bit in price for these single carded figures. But I think this guy's worth it. I haven't yet to hear anyone who bought this guy that was unhappy with him. And as thin as he is, he's very durable. You know, he's not going to break. A kid could play with this, and he's not going to break or anything. Could use his soft goods on somebody else. Very, very good figure, and my favorite army builder of 2023. All right, guys, here we go. So, number 3 on my list, favorite 118 toy lines of 2023. And I'm going to start it off probably with a little bit of controversy, a little bit coming out of left field. I'm sure I'm going to get some comments about this. I'm hoping they're positive. But my third favorite line of 2023, and this is a sub line, so, you know, we'll just say it. It's the Joy Toy Dark Sources Zhang Hu line. Now, I know in a couple of the videos I said Zhang Jiao, but I finally realized that it was actually Zhang Hu. So I apologize if I offended anyone. I do not know how to read Chinese. Let me tell you why this is one of my favorite lines. Every single figure that I got in this line, and I have almost all of them, was an awesome figure. The introduction of horses, creatures, was an added bonus. I didn't bring him out, but the figure that came with the cat with 3 tails, or it was a fox with 3 tails, and he had a bird. Really solid good figures, guys. Every single one of them. And I think that this line, you know, it's not getting the recognition it deserves, especially here in the United States. And I think it's because of the subject matter. You know, it is a fantasy line. It's not military. It's not sci-fi. And it's sort of like ancient Chinese, or ancient, rather than being, you know, like Roman or Greek or Western. You know, it's Eastern. It's ancient Eastern. Mythological from, you know, the Indian and Chinese subcontinent kind of a thing. And I just think that it's not a popular genre, but it doesn't mean that the figures aren't great, because they are. Especially the Crown Prince here. He was one of the standouts, and his buddy here, this guy, Xu Xin Mi, two of the best, but there were so many good ones, guys. There were so many good ones. This guy was great as well. I think people just, you know, they look at these and they go, you know, that's a fantasy figure. I don't think I can use it. But I think my buddy Ben at That Damn Figure Show, I think he took this guy apart. And because it's Joy Toy and they are so interchangeable, I think he used parts of this body on one of the soldiers and created a whole unique character. And if anything, buying one of these guys just to strip him down to use for your Joy Toy military stuff, for your, you know, whatever it might be, that is also a use, you know, that you can get away with Joy Toy in general. But all of these figures were so good. I was surprised by each one. I don't think I got one that I was disappointed with at all. They were all so good. There was army builders in this line, like this guy, the guy that rides the horse. And then you had these individual named characters, you know, the monk, you know, the prince. You've got the ninja sort of karate guy. You had a little bit of everything. You had women, you know, you had men. The line is everywhere. The line is everywhere. All the figures were awesome. Not a bad one in the bunch. But like most Joy Toy and, you know, Toys Alliance figures, they are fairly expensive. I didn't really see these guys come down too much in price. A few of them did, but not more than $5 or $10. You know, I've seen Joy Toy Battle of the Stars, and the military figures drop as much, you know, as like 17, 18, 19, $20, which is pretty good for a Joy Toy figure. But I haven't really seen any of this Dark Sources Zhang Hu figures drop that low. And I think it's because they're in demand and they are really good. And, you know, things tend to go on sale when there's too many of them. And they're not moving fast enough. These guys have been moving, I think. and that's one of the reasons they haven't really gone to the deep discount that some of the other lines that Joy Toy has have. But it was kind of, I wanted to pick this one. I don't know if anyone's going to agree with me. I don't really see a lot of people taking photos of these guys on Instagram. I don't see a lot of people showing them in their hauls. I don't see a lot of people doing reviews and overviews on YouTube of these guys. That doesn't mean that they're not good. I think it's like a sleeper. It's like a dark horse, sort of a sleeper line that kind of snuck through. When people think of Joy Toy, they think of those other the military stuff, the all of this, the 40K. There's a lot of Joy Toy stuff out there. This is one of the better lines that they have. I think it's just not as well publicized, not as well known, and I just think it's the genre, it's the subject matter. But these are great figures. I don't think you'd be disappointed with any of them. Like I said, I think these three right here in the front that I've put are three of the best. But they do have some great army builders, great female characters, all around awesome line. If you're gonna dip your toe in here, I'd grab one of these three. The horse was pretty good. My review of that I think is up by now. Don't know the order of how these videos are going to come out, but the Warhorse is really good. I know it comes in brown, black, and white now. Not bad. If you're trying to stay within all the dark source, you want this horse over the boss fight horse. But any combination of these figures is awesome. I can't recommend them enough. Great figures. That's my number 3 figure line of 2023. All right, guys, this one's going to be a little bit different, a little bit of a rant, but I think you'll understand. This is my favorite 118-375 toy line that you can no longer find anymore, and it baffles my mind because it was such a good line, good prices, good figures, and they've told us many times that the figures are coming. There's another wave, but yet we went all the way through 2023 and the figures never showed up. And what I'm talking about is the World of Halo lines by Jazwares. Now, I found these figures recently at my local Ross, and they are quite inexpensive, quite good figures, and very cheap, which is really nice. Typically, they were about $10 if you could find them when they used to be in the Targets and Walmarts. And they told us late in 2022, don't worry, they're coming. And I think all year, besides the drop pods, these lines, this figure, all these figures from this line never showed up at retail, never showed up at brick and mortar. But I know that now that Jazwares has their own sort of Hasbro Pulse page, and a lot of these 2-packs and single packs are starting to show up on their website at fairly okay prices. I think they've got this up right now for $20.99, but if you can find it at your local Ross, it's half off. If you can believe it, this Master Chief is only $1.99. Really good deals, but they just disappeared. I don't know if it's a distribution problem. I don't know what's going on. I was army building several different figures from this line. I really like these guys and the Marines. I think I have about 6 or 7 of those, about 6 or 7 of these, 2 of those, 2 of these guys. I would be buying these figures all the time if I could find them. I think even when they were new, and this is the old, this is like wave 1 or like series 1 before they changed the packaging. I think they were about $8.99 or $9.99 a piece. So they were on the lower end cost side of 118-375 type figures. A little bit under the Epic Heroes, a little bit over the DC Spin Master, definitely a lot less than Star Wars The Vintage Collection. But I really like these figures. They're really good for, alien enemy forces at that price. They're not that bad to army build. There were vehicles in this line, unique sculpts, unique, creatures, aliens. I miss this line. This is my favorite line of 118 favorite line that disappeared from retail. It looks like it might be coming back, or maybe it's going to be directly off the Jazzwares website only. It's never a good sign when they're selling a figure for $1.99. It does say regular $10, which is about right. But these are really good figures. These are my favorite figures of 2023 that disappeared, my favorite line. So a little bit something different. Just wanted to rant a little bit. I know a lot of people like these figures. A lot of people didn't, but I am not in that boat. I thought they were pretty cool, especially at the price point. Got a nice little army of these guys, and I have taken some photos of these guys battling my stormtroopers. Awesome. A lot of fun to play with. That is my favorite line of 2023 that disappeared. Okay, guys, number 2 on my favorite toy lines, 118375 of 2023. And I'm probably going to get called a bit of a homer on this one, which I'm okay with. Please let me explain my reasoning. Number 2 is the Star Wars, the Vintage Collection from Hasbro. Now, I am a Star Wars guy through and through. Star Wars and G.I. Joe what got me into collecting 118375. I've always played with the scale ever since I was little. But my reasoning is this. Hasbro is probably the number 1 toy maker in all the world, easily North America. Star Wars is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. And at this scale is sort of the trailblazer for the scale, along with G.I. Joe. When Hasbro's doing well, if the Vintage Collection is doing well, that typically, I think you can assume, the health of 118 is doing well. And all 118, all 375. Hasbro this year really stepped their game up. They finally got to the point where the articulation of these figures matches, or is closest to now than it's ever been, the Joy Toy, the Toy Alliance, you know, the Fresh Monkey Fiction, the Boss Fight Studios, the Dime Novel Legends. We've got the ball jointed hips now. We've got rocker ankles. We have hinged wrists. We have diaphragm joints, ball jointed diaphragm and waist. And with incredible head sculpts, photo real technology. You know, look how nice that looks. They finally have caught up to the competition that they have really been losing to for years, you know. They finally caught up. These figures, when compared economic price-wise to those other lines that I mentioned, you cannot beat this. And the fact that typically they are in brick and mortar. You're not going to find Dime Novel Legends in Walmart or Target. You're not going to find Fresh Monkey Fiction there. You're not even going to find the Hiya Toys G.I. Joes there. You're not going to find your Joy Toys and your Acid Rain. You are going to find these figures there. And if you're in the store and you see these, you're going to grab them. I know it. If you're watching my channel, you've probably got most of these guys. I would hope that you agree with me at least on some of these points that I'm making. When the health of Star Wars 375 is good and well, then all of 118375 is typically doing well. This is the forefront of the game, so to speak, the front line of defense. You know, if the Vintage Collection goes down, a lot of the other lines are going to go down too, I think. And that's just my opinion. That's just I'm on my soapbox. I'm ranting. I'm giving you my 2 cents. But this year, they really hit it out of the ballpark. We're getting great character selection. We're getting great articulation, great sculpts. And the price, you can't, I mean, you know, a deluxe figure, I think he's a deluxe. This Boba Fett here, who's a deluxe. He came with some accessories. He was $30, I think, $35. That is expensive for the average, 118 guy. But if you're watching my channel, I'm guessing you've probably bought Joy Toy. You've probably bought Toys Alliance, Annex 2179. You might have even bought some Fresh Monkey Fiction at $25 a pop for a single carded figure, or Dime Novel Legends at $30, Boss Fight Studio at $30. The fact that these guys are $16.99 at Walmart, or even the deluxe figures at $28, $30, you're still in the range, you know. And I think for what we're getting now, you can finally say, okay, you know, I only got a few more accessories. You know, he's got the helmet, he's got the gun, the pistol, backpack comes off, but great head sculpt. Um, it is Star Wars. You know, this isn't someone's IP that they just made up 5 years ago. This is Star Wars, so it does carry some weight, and they can demand that price. Um, I think they've kind of come down now, those deluxe figures, to 25. And I mean, I don't think you can buy a Joy Toy, a new Joy Toy, a new Toys and Lions figure, even a, you know, the last Dime Novel Legends figure I got, the Colonel or the Sergeant, he was $32. I don't think that there is a Fresh Monkey Fiction Eagle Force figure that's under 20 bucks. And it's certainly not a Boss Fight Studio unless it's a blank, or you know, one of their sort of ones that you're going to strip down, that doesn't come, you know, he's not a character, so to speak, army builder. So in my opinion, this has been one of the best lines this year. There's always going to be the complaint, you know, that they're too small. But the thing is, this is one of the only lines left that is an actual 375. I think the Amber collection, the Jurassic Mattel figures, those are a true 375. And some of the smaller brands, can't think of another one right now. But they're, you know, this is one of the last 375 lines out there. Everyone else has gone to a full 118, whether it's Haya or, you know, any of those other brands that I mentioned. They've gone to the full 118. Star Wars still has not. So I know some people, you know, it's smaller and it costs the same, but it's such a small amount of plastic. And the fact is, in real life, we're all different sizes, right? There are tall guys, there are short guys, there are fat guys, there are skinny guys. There are guys with longer arms, you know, than other people that are the same height. Some guys are bald, some guys are not. So I just think, to me, especially when you get to like droids, it really doesn't matter that it's 375. In particular, I think the females in the vintage collection line, they go best with those 118 lines that I mentioned, because they are females, and females tend to be smaller than males. Don't come after me because I said that. But we're teaching the rule here, not the exception. Of course, there are, you know, women that are bigger than some men, but for the most part, they're smaller. So you can definitely get away with it more with some of the female characters, and the female characters in this line have been terrific. Whether it's Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, any of the female figures. But this is my number 2 of the year. I don't know if that surprises some of you guys. I don't think it would if you have any of these figures and you realize that Hasbro finally stepped their game up. If we can just get more characters, you know, finish some of these teams like the Bad Batch, and you know, give us all the Inquisitors. You know, I think they've only given us 2 Inquisitors. They've given us 1 Hunter from the Bad Batch. They're not finishing any of the teams out. One of the Knights of Ren, you know, if they could fill out the line a little bit more, I think it would take this line to the next level and bring even more people in. But that is my number 2 favorite line of the year, guys. What do you think? All right, guys, so before we jump into number 1 of my favorite 118 375 toy lines of 2023, it's always good to kind of throw in a honorable mention. So my honorable mention here was almost number 3, but for some reasons I'm going to explain now, it is not. It is my honorable mention, and that line is the Joy Toy Corvus Belli Infinity line. Now, I did buy lots of Corvus Belli Infinity figures. I even did a couple of overviews on the channel for some of them, and I really do like this line. It's really good. Why it missed my list, or why I thought, especially even out of the Joy Toy stuff, why I prefer the Dark Source stuff, was a couple of reasons. One, not every one of the figures that I opened from the Corvus Belli Infinity line were 10s. What I mean by that is there were a few misses, and it was fairly consistent with most of the figures. One of the things was their oversized holsters. That really bugs me. it seemed to be along. It didn't matter really what group it was. If it was these the nomads, if it was the Pan Oceania guys, um, whoever it might have been. Um, I I didn't like that. The female figure, this one here, she had trouble standing. One of the standouts was this Octavia, though. She was really good. Another thing is, they never really fleshed out any of the other groups. Now, they gave us, I think, 10, 12, maybe 14 Pan Oceania figures, but they only gave us four of the NA2s. They only gave us four of the Eridana, or six of the Eridana. They only gave us two Nomads. And there was other groups too, but I didn't get any of them. I didn't care for maybe their color, their armor, or whatever it was. But another thing was, some of these guys, like the Knight of Santiago, a couple of the other knights, their capes were so hard. They can't sit. It limited their articulation. They have all this articulation, but it becomes kind of you can't use it with the cape so hard. Um, Another thing was, they were almost every figure in this line has been an army builder. I think Octavia, this guy here, Padre, a few of them have names and they're singular characters, but almost every figure is an army builder, and that's fine. I like that. I love to army build, and I do plan on army building some of these nomads, I think. And I know that a lot of people are using the female number one here, Pan Oceania girl, for customs, because she's a very good figure for doing that. But I just felt like they haven't fleshed out enough characters. There's not enough singular characters. They are quite expensive. These really haven't gone on sale like some of the other Joy Toy stuff, which again, it's probably demand. They don't need to sell them at a clearance price because they're selling quite well at regular price. But there were far too many misses where the Dark Sources stuff, I felt like every single one of them was a really solid figure, where some of these were a little bit of a miss. Another thing was especially like with her number one and number two, and the knights in general, all their, and I took it off of this guy, I think. They're big satchels, like they're oversized satchels that kind of hinder them and get in the way. It just didn't. I like the figures. I like all of them, but they weren't. I think maybe I don't know if my expectation was too high, but it just wasn't as good as I hoped. Not every single one. Where with the Dark Sources stuff, I was surprised every time that it was better than I thought it would be. Where some of these Infinity figures were a little bit of a letdown. Even this guy, as good as this guy is, and he is really good, and his squad is really good. In the end, he is just a soldier. He is just a modern soldier. He could be, he's not necessarily, looks like he's from Corvus Belli. He could just be a soldier in a flak jacket, when there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought, I don't know, maybe my expectation was too high because the 40K stuff is so intricate, so different. I do prefer this line. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I don't collect 40K stuff. Besides the Tau Empire, I really don't have any 40K stuff. I don't care for it. It's not my thing. But these guys I really do like. They just missed the list. It's a great line to collect. It's a great line to army build. But I've had to get kind of nitpicky. When you're making a list like this, you got to go, well, and it comes down to really the fine print, and you start to pick on things a little bit more than you normally would. And so in order to make this list, I did nitpick this line a little bit more. I found a few more flaws in it than I found in the Dark Sources stuff. And I think I explained the Dark Source and the Star Wars Vintage Collection stuff enough. But this is my honorable mention, guys, the Joy Toy Corvus Belli Infinity subline of the Joy Toy stuff. All right, we're at the top of the list, guys, the cream of the crop. And this was actually quite an easy decision to make. I actually made this decision first, and then it was who was second, who was third, who are the rest. And so my number one line of the year, 118-375 of 2023, easily Annex 2179 by Toys Alliance. Every single figure in this line, and there weren't that many. Easily could be the figure of the year. Now, everything I said about my army build, my favorite army builder of the year, number two, my Star Wars Vintage Collections, the Joy Toy stuff, it's got to throw it all out the window because economically, these are the most expensive. They're probably the hardest to get. And I think for the most part, North America, they're the most unknown. So let me explain myself here. The all of these figures were at least 40, $50 easily. But you get what you pay for. This is the line that everyone's trying to catch. There's so many good things about this line. Whether it's the paint application, whether it's the sculpt, whether it's the accessories, the articulation. I mean, these guys, and this is a great example. This is Rakasha, or Raksasha, however you want to pronounce that. There's so much uniqueness and innovation going on in this one figure. These double ball jointed shoulders here, the size of him, the fact that he's got 4 arms, he's double sided, guys. Look at the paint on this guy. Just a awesome, unique figure. Now, this isn't for everyone. It really isn't. And I understand that. But these are great figures, man. This is the Anubis here. Let me put it actually like that. Great figure. Awesome accessories. Again, super unique. But, expensive, hard to get. But when something's this expensive, this is what you expect, the quality. And that's what you get with these figures. The butterfly joints in the E11, probably, in my opinion, from all the figures that I have in my collecting through the years, best butterfly joints on her shoulders than at this scale ever. And any one of these figures, theoretically, for me, could be the figure of the year at this scale. Hopefully I'll get around to doing that video as well, like my top 10 118 375 figures of the year. But this line, this sub line, this Annex 2179, even over the normal Acid Rain stuff, so much better, so much more unique. As unique as the soldiers and the different Ratco and all these different guys that they've been pumping out. These have got to be the best, at least in my opinion. They're the most fun, the most unique. I got the most out of these guys. They photograph well, they pose well. There's just nothing wrong with them except that economics part that really, except Pia Club, you really can't get these anywhere else. And they sell out. So if you don't pre-order them, you lose out on them. Or you're going to pay an exorbitant amount on the secondary market. And maybe, just maybe, Pia Club will do another run. And you've got to be there to watch every day in order to get one of these guys. But the cost of them, even if you do pre-order them and you did get in on them, I mean, I think, I can't quite remember now, but they were at least 45 a piece, each one of these. And I think, of course, these two are bigger, so they were a little bit more than that. They all sold out. Even the Zeus, I really enjoyed the Zeus, the mech, the Fubu, whatever he's called, that transforms into the ship. Really like him. These are some of the best figures that I own. Some of the best figures, I think, that at this scale, that I've ever had. The innovation here, this is who Hasbro and Joy Toy, this is what they're trying to catch. This, at this point, you wonder what will be the next innovation that they can come up with, because the paint, the articulation, the sculpt, I mean, I just don't know, that's what the creative minds over there at Toys Alliance, Kit Lau and them are going to have to figure out, and I'm sure they're on it. This is one of those Steve Jobs things where I want to say, you know what, you need this. You don't know you need it, but you need it. And once you have it, it's always going to be a matter of money and a matter of, getting them in time because they do sell out. But I think you will not be disappointed in these. I mean, I'm sure someone will say, "Oh, they're overpriced, they're this and that," but the cost of everything right now, just meat and potatoes, right? Just gasoline. These guys, they're worth it. Um, it seems like they're sort of small run production. There's, they're not making these like they're making, Marvel Legends and the McFarlane stuff, and there's just not that many of them in general, which keeps that cost, that price up, keeps the value. But these are all great figures. I think if you have any of these, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're probably thinking that, I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm just I'm hyping them up. But these are great figures, guys. I think they're all wonderful. I'm gonna try to get all of them. I just did a review, an overview on Citrus and Oak, the New Balance guys, the Eric K figures, and they were no exception. They were just as good. All of these figures have been great. This is easily my favorite line of 2023, the Toys Alliance Annex 2179. So that's my list, guys. The top 3 lines, my favorite, I shouldn't say the top, my favorite 118 lines of the year. I threw in my Army Builder of the year. I even had a little rant in there to Jazzwares about my favorite line that's no longer around. What do you think of my list? I do hope to do a top 10 list of just single figures, and a lot of the lines that I left out, Fresh Monkey Fiction, the Dime Novel Legends, we'll even break down these, which ones are better than others, my Joy Toy stuff. This was mostly, as a whole, collectively, all of the 2179 figures were, I thought, better than anything else that I've got this year. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I did rant a little bit, did get a little excited, a little worked up, but I really love these figures. I do still have a lot of passion for the collecting, this hobby, and I'm having a lot of fun making videos. So thank you guys that have watched and have subscribed and have commented. It's been really awesome getting to chat with you guys and meet you, so to speak, through the comments. I'll catch you next time. Should be pumping out some more videos here soon.